On September 21st at 3 a.m., HDI seniors and several teachers left for Colombia. This trip had been in the works for several months, and we were all very excited. As we loaded up our bags and began the journey, nerves set in a bit as many of us were heading to a foreign country for the first time. It was Mike's first time flying, and he took way too many pictures. We landed in Bogota at 9 p.m. and drove to Ibagué, arriving at 3 a.m. Pastor Diego and Claudia greeted us, and we went to bed. Up at 6 a.m., that's 3 hours of sleep if you're counting. We headed to an alternative school for kids who have either been expelled from other schools or adults who have not finished school before. School ends at noon, so most of these kids have a whole day by themselves while their parents are gone during the day. Most of the kids do not live in the best part of town and have gotten into drugs. The HCA seniors created a panel so that the kids could ask questions about our relationship to God and what we believe about God. At the end of the classes, we invited the kids to come to church on Sunday. That afternoon after lunch, we headed to Pastor Diego's church. We got to meet with his youth group, and we painted Pastor Diego's church together. After painting, we had a youth group service. We sang some songs and played some games, and shared with their youth group about pressing on in your walk with God, even though other people may make fun or look down on you. On Saturday, we went to a neighborhood called Nazareth. Pastor Diego's church did a children's outreach there every week. We fed the kids breakfast and taught the kids some Bible stories through skits. After serving the kids, we walked to a family's house and brought them groceries. Pastor Diego also gave them enough money to cover rent for the next several months and invited them to church the next day. For dinner that evening, we traveled to the top of a mountain. After some investigation, Noah found out one of the meats was cow intestines. We had mint juice, which was a first for most of us. Sunday, we went to Pastor Diego's church, Iglesia La Vida. They had been running an evangelistic campaign called My One. For the last month, each church member has been praying for someone they know to come to know Christ. The Sunday our team was there happened to be the week everyone invited the person they were praying for to church. At the end of the service, about 70 people accepted the Lord. The seniors went to help with the children's church while Mauricio was preaching. After church, we went back to Nazareth and helped the church with an outreach called Jesus' Closet. This is a mobile thrift store of sorts. The church collects used clothes, toys, shoes, and more, and sells them at a very low price because most of the people living in Nazareth do not have enough money to buy those clothes brand new. On Monday, we went sightseeing around Ibagué and finished the night at the church for a farewell party from the church people to say goodbye before we headed off to Fusa the next day. On Tuesday, we traveled to Fusagasugá to meet Pastor Mauricio and his wife Marcela. They took us to the local home for the elderly, where Mauricio gave a message out of John. We got the opportunity to pray for the residents living there and spend some time talking and getting to know some of them. On Wednesday, we had a prayer meeting in the morning at Pastor Mauricio's church, where we met a mayoral candidate of the city who was a member of their church. After the meeting, we went out to a farm that hosts a 6-month recovery program for addicts. Mike shared his testimony and Brian spoke some words of encouragement. Afterwards, we got the opportunity to pray and fellowship with the program residents. On Thursday morning, we ate breakfast with Pastor Mauricio and his family before heading back to Ibagué. We met with Pastora Lucia and headed to a few houses of some of her church members to give gift baskets and offer prayer. That night, we ended the evening at Lucia's church, where Mauricio spoke to the church about leadership. At the end of the service, Heather and Gracie got the chance to pray for some of the ladies who wanted to give their life to Jesus. On Friday, Lucia took us to the mountains for lunch. Which included taking a scary gondola ride over a deep gorge. Gracie and the seniors met Lucia's youth group for some fellowship and game time, while Mauricio and Heather went to a marriage renewal. About 35 pastoral couples met and celebrated their marriage. They followed the same format Pastor Charlie and Mr. Barton followed when Heartland used to host the Pastors' Conference years ago. On Saturday, Lucia's youth group and some of the church members took us to a small neighborhood where they have been evangelizing for some time. We started by going door to door, passing out Bible tracts printed on the back of fake money. After that, we went back to the neighborhood park and did some activities with the kids there. God actually touched a lady and prompted her to open her house to the church. This was the first house opened for small groups to the church in the neighborhood. That afternoon, we went back to the church for a youth group service where the seniors were invited to join their youth in the worship band. That night at church, the seniors joined the worship band again, and Mauricio preached a message. During the service, Heather and Emmy were asked to talk to the youth. On Sunday morning, the seniors were invited to join the band one more time for the last service. We said goodbyes in a traditional way in Pastor Charlie's favorite rotisserie chicken place, El Carnaval de Pollo, Chicken's Carnival. Then we drove 7 hours back to Bogota to catch our flight out the next day. We are grateful to the church for opening up the opportunity for the HCA students to go on these missions trips. It really gave us a new perspective on the world and what God is doing. Thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Toro and Mrs. Hamilton for taking us. We went thinking we were going to give and serve, and we did, but we also got a lot in return.